In today's video, I'm going to talk to you about the most important things I've learned from going to art school. Hi friends, welcome back to So Obvious. I'm Apollinar. As some of you guys know from my previous videos, I have a bachelor's degree in fashion design. I mean, pretty obvious, I learned how to sew and how to design. But there is other things that I've learned that I think are important for a lot of people, even those outside of the art and fashion industry. The first one that I've learned, and I still practice it and I enforce it on others, is to always sign your work. I know that it's second nature for most people to create something and then immediately hate it, but always sign your work. When we work on a project, we are so close to it that all we know is all the flaws that we've made. When other people look at it, they don't see the flaws, they see the overall look. For example, if I make a dress for a client, I know that this hem isn't perfect on a certain spot, or maybe the seam is a little crooked on the inside, but they look at the dress as a whole. They look at an entire dress. To them, they say, wow, you made a dress, that's awesome. And all you see is all the little problems. So sometimes because you know that there's problems there, you don't want to sign it. That should not be the case. You should always sign your work. You should be proud of what you do, no matter what you do. If you're a baker, if you're a sewer, if you're a housekeeper, anything, you should be proud of what you do. Because honestly, we should be putting our best effort into whatever it is that we do. Another lesson that was constantly drilled into my head is to fake it till you make it. And I know this is something that people say a lot, but it actually does work. When I first started learning how to sew and doing fashion design, I was very hesitant to call myself a fashion designer because since I didn't have the degree or the paper or the credentials, I saw it as me being pretentious. But at the end of the day, other people are not going to think of me as a fashion designer until I tell them that I'm a fashion designer. And just because I don't know everything about fashion design or I don't know every sewing technique available doesn't mean that I can't create something that they want. It's the same thing with art. Just because you don't know how to work with watercolors or pencils or charcoal doesn't mean that you are not an artist. If you're a baker, just because you only know how to bake cakes doesn't mean you're not a baker. It just means that you're a very specific kind of baker. So I guess this tip is more geared towards people who are doing like entrepreneurship. If you want to be a fashion designer, call yourself a fashion designer. If you want to be an interior designer, call yourself an interior designer. I guess this kind of goes along the lines of the dress for the job that you want. It's kind of like a self-affirmation thing as well. If you repeat it to yourself often enough, you will believe it, and soon enough, other people will believe it too. It's kind of that old kind of just believing yourself type of bullcrap we've all heard, but it's true. If you think of yourself as a fashion designer, start carrying yourself like a fashion designer, then you will naturally start doing things like researching techniques or even looking at other fashion designer styles and designs so that you can start designing your own thing. So I think there's a lot of people who have talents like drawing, but they don't want to call themselves an artist, or sewing, but they don't want to call themselves a fashion designer. You have to be able to give yourself props for the things that you're good at. Which leads me to the next point, which is talented people don't brag about their talents. I know this sounds kind of the opposite of what I said, but if you're good at what you do, then your work will do the talking for you. Or other people who see your work will brag about you to other people and you won't have to. I came across so many people in school who were just constantly talking about how they were good at this and they were good at that and they were amazing and blah, blah, blah. And honestly, the only people they're convincing is themselves. I think that there is a big difference between confidence and arrogance. You have to be able to think to yourself, I got this, I can do this, I'm good at this and I know it, and not have to say it to other people. Because if you know that you're good at something, are you really going to sit there and tell everybody how good you are at it? I know when I think I'm good at something, I don't have to sit there and brag about it. Speaking of the type of people that I encountered in school, a lot of artists and fashion design people are not the way that they're portrayed in TVs and movies. A lot of movies and TV programs kind of make fashion designers look like they're snooty, and they make artists look like they're crazy, which I mean, some of them are. A lot of fashion designers are really just a bunch of little art geeks who chose fabric as their medium. The same thing for artists. Artists are just those weird kids that you had in class that used to draw on their pants, guilty, who just decided to take their passion and try and turn it into a career. One of the first things my professors in school taught me was that if you make a mistake, Own it. Say you did it on purpose, because there is no way they can prove you wrong. This obviously doesn't apply for everything in life, but when it comes to art or fashion, if you say, oh, I did it on purpose, they can't prove that you weren't doing it that way. This also goes hand in hand with what I said earlier with faking it till you make it. Because, like I said, when you create something, people are looking at the overall creation, they're not looking at the little details. You know all those little details, so you know which details are good and which details are bad. But if you tell them that you did them on purpose, can they really prove that you didn't do it on purpose? Probably the biggest thing that I've learned, and I'm still learning even now since school, is that just because you love something doesn't mean that you have to do it 24/7. I think there's a lot of people that think that, well, if I'm an artist, then I should be painting or drawing or whatever every single day. And that's just not the truth. You can't turn inspiration on and off whenever you want to. It just kind of happens or it doesn't. So I think it's important to make sure that you give yourself breaks, because you will get burnout, and it would be a shame for anybody to lose interest in whatever they love just because they feel obligated to do it. So I guess the tip is, take it easy on yourself. Don't push yourself too hard, and just make sure that you're still enjoying what you do. If you like today's video, make sure that you like, comment, share, subscribe, and ring the bell. You can also follow me on Instagram at @polylook. There you can look at photos of any of my upcoming projects and videos that I'll be posting on here. If you didn't like the video, then I don't believe you, because you had to have liked something to get this far into this video. Otherwise, you would have clicked out like 2 minutes ago. Okay, bye.